Codependency is one of the most subtle and insidious states of the soul. It hides beneath devotion, care, and loyalty, yet beneath it all lies pain, fear, and dependency. We call it love, but in truth, it's often survival. A desperate attempt to hold on to someone so we don't fall apart ourselves. At the core of codependency lies a deep inner emptiness, the need to be needed, seen, and heard. It often begins in childhood, when love had to be earned, through good behavior, helpfulness, or silence. The child grows up believing that to be loved, one must be useful, patient, and self-sacrificing. And as an adult, they don't seek love, they seek validation, even if it costs them peace, freedom, and self-respect. Codependent people feel others' emotions more vividly than their own. They suffer when their partner suffers, and they feel uneasy when their partner is fine, because that might mean they're no longer needed. They try to control, to save, to guide, to hold on. It feels like without this, the relationship will collapse. But the truth is, it's because of this that the relationship suffocates. Codependency isn't limited to romantic bonds. It can exist between parents and children, friends, even co-workers. It's any relationship where boundaries dissolve, where I and you blur into we so completely that neither person knows where one ends and the other begins. It's when someone else's pain becomes your own, and your own desires feel like betrayal. Codependency often hides behind the banner of him doing it out of love. But real love doesn't demand sacrifice. It doesn't require you to shrink. Real love is freedom. Codependency is fear of that freedom. Fear of being alone with oneself. And so, the person clings to the relationship, even when it hurts. Within codependency lives a silent cry. See me. Notice that I exist. But as long as that cry is directed outward, it remains unheard. Healing begins when the gaze turns inward. When a person stops seeking salvation in another and starts reconnecting with themselves. The path out of codependency is a journey home, back to one's own feelings, needs, body, and voice. It's a path of growing up, of realizing, no one is obligated to save me, and I am not obligated to save anyone. This is not coldness or selfishness, it's maturity. It's understanding that I can love without losing myself, and be close without dissolving. Codependency is not a life sentence. It's an invitation to freedom. It shows us where we've abandoned ourselves, where we chose someone else's pain over our own truth. And one day, when pain stops being the meaning and self-care becomes a habit, love returns, not as fear, not as addiction, but as a quiet certainty. I am whole, even when I am alone. And yet, the story of codependency does not end with pain. It unfolds into awakening. When the fog of emotional fusion begins to lift, a person often experiences a kind of identity crisis. Who am I, if I am not the caretaker, the fixer, the one who holds everything together? What remains when the role dissolves, when silence is no longer mistaken for peace, when self-sacrifice stops being the proof of love? This is the terrifying and beautiful moment when healing truly begins. It starts not with strength, but with honesty, the courage to look at one's own reflection and say, I don't know how to love without losing myself, but I want to learn. That admission alone cracks open the armor that has kept the heart both protected and imprisoned. The next stage is relearning connection. This time, not through control or fear, but through presence. Codependent people often confuse empathy with absorption, compassion with self-erasure. Real empathy doesn't mean drowning in another's pain, it means being anchored enough in yourself to truly witness someone else. Real compassion begins with self-compassion, with the gentle, patient care of the parts of you that once believed you had to earn love by suffering. Healing from codependency is not linear. There are relapses, doubts, and moments of longing for the old patterns, because they felt familiar, like home, even if that home was built on instability. But every time you choose to pause instead of react, to listen to your own voice before rushing to fix someone else's, you take a step toward freedom. In the process, something miraculous happens. Solitude stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like sanctuary. The empty space once filled by the other person's moods, needs, and crisis becomes fertile ground for your own life to grow. You rediscover forgotten passions, your sense of humor, your spontaneity. You begin to realize that love doesn't have to hurt, and connection doesn't require losing your center. Codependency teaches one of life's hardest and most transformative lessons. That love without boundaries is not love at all, it is attachment, fear, and control wrapped in the language of care. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges that allow real intimacy to flow. They say, I can stand beside you without becoming you. I can care for you without abandoning myself. True healing from codependency is the reunion with one's own wholeness. It's not about learning to stop loving. It's about learning to love cleanly, consciously, without the hidden transaction of I save you, so you will stay. It's the shift from rescuing to relating, from merging to meeting, from fear to freedom. And in that freedom, love finally becomes what it was always meant to be. A meeting of two complete beings who choose each other, not because they need to, but because they want to. A love where both can breathe. A love that doesn't bind, but expands. A love that feels like coming home, not to someone else, but to yourself. And when you finally come home to yourself, something extraordinary happens. The world begins to look different. The relationships that once drained you start to reveal their true nature. You no longer confuse intensity with intimacy, chaos with passion, or control with safety. What once felt like love now feels heavy, and what once felt lonely now feels peaceful. This shift is subtle at first, a quiet inner knowing that you no longer need to chase what hurts you. There's a sacred stillness that arrives when you stop performing for love. For the first time, you can simply be. You don't have to earn your place in anyone's life. You don't have to anticipate every need. You don't have to shrink so others can shine. You begin to notice that real connection happens not when you are perfect, but when you are honest, when you can say, this is me, this is what I feel, this is what I need. And those who can meet you there with respect, curiosity, and kindness become the kind of relationships that nurture your soul instead of depleting it. But codependency doesn't disappear without resistance. The old self will whisper, you're being selfish, you'll lose them. No one will love you if you stop giving so much. These are the echoes of the past, the voices of childhood, of fear, of people who once benefited from your silence. They are not the truth. Healing requires learning to recognize those voices, thank them for trying to protect you, and then choose differently. One of the hardest parts of recovery is grief. Grief for the years spent trying to be enough. For the love that never came the way you hoped. For the pieces of yourself you gave away just to feel safe. But grief is cleansing. It clears the space where new life can grow. From that place, you begin to build relationships that are mutual, balanced, and alive. Freedom from codependency is not about cutting people off. It's about coming back into balance. You can still care deeply, still give, still love, but now from fullness, not from lack. You realize that your worth is not measured by how much you sacrifice, but by how deeply you honor yourself. You stop trying to be everything for everyone, and instead, become someone real for yourself. In the end, the opposite of codependency isn't independence, it's authenticity. Independence says, I don't need anyone. Authenticity says, I can need you, but I won't lose myself in you. That is the quiet power of a healed heart, the ability to stay open without being consumed. And maybe that's the final truth. We don't heal from codependency to stop loving. We heal so we can finally love for real, without fear, without bargaining, without disappearing. Just love, steady, clear, and kind. The kind of love that begins and ends with the simple, revolutionary act of choosing yourself. So how do you help yourself when you recognize the patterns of codependency? The first and most powerful step is awareness. The moment you name what's happening, the spell begins to break. You start to see the invisible strings you've been pulling and the ones tie down you. Awareness is not about blame, it's about clarity. You cannot heal what you continue to deny. From awareness comes boundaries, gentle at first, but essential. Boundaries are not weapons or punishments, they are expressions of self-respect. Start small. Learn to say no without apology. Learn to pause before reacting. Learn to ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Or am I afraid of what will happen if I don't? Boundaries teach your nervous system that safety doesn't depend on control, and love doesn't require constant sacrifice. Next, reconnect with yourself. Codependency thrives in disconnection from your feelings, your desires, your body. Begin to listen inward. What makes you feel alive? What quiets your soul? Journaling, mindfulness, therapy, or simply sitting with your emotions without trying to fix them. All these are acts of reconnection. The goal isn't to become self-centered, but self-aware, to make your inner world a place you can safely return to. Another crucial step is learning to tolerate discomfort. When you start setting boundaries or stop overgiving, guilt often shows up like an old friend. That guilt is not a sign you are doing something wrong. It's a sign you are doing something new. Let it be there. Breathe through it. Healing requires the courage to sit in the discomfort of change, without rushing back to the familiar pain of the past. Seek support. You cannot heal codependency alone, because the wound itself is relational. It was formed in relationships, and it often heals through healthy ones. Therapy can be a profound mirror, helping you see your patterns with compassion. Support groups or trusted friends can remind you that you are not broken, just learning a new way to love. And most importantly, practice self-compassion. You've spent years, maybe decades, believing that your value comes from what you give. Shifting that belief takes time. Some days you'll fall back into old habits, over-helping, over-apologizing, over-loving. Don't punish yourself for it. Notice it, forgive yourself, and begin again. Healing isn't perfection, it's persistence. As you walk this path, something changes deep inside. You begin to feel a sense of inner solidity, the quiet strength of someone who no longer seeks validation in chaos. You stop chasing love that hurts and start attracting love that feels calm, grounded, and mutual. You no longer need to be needed to feel alive. And then, one day, you realize you are no longer waiting for someone to save you. You are living your own life, present, peaceful, whole. The past still whispers sometimes, but it no longer commands. You've become both the nurturer and the protector you once searched for in others. That is the true liberation from codependency, not the absence of connection, but the presence of wholeness. It is the gentle realization that you were never broken, you were simply disconnected from yourself. And now, as you return, you discover that love, real love, was never outside of you at all. It was always here, quietly waiting, in the one place you forgot to look, within.